Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be going over custom objects in AEM Designer. So if you recall from last time from our tutorial on dynamic tables, I mentioned that I had saved, because the dynamic table object is so useful, I have saved it to my object library. So over here in the bottom right, we have, or I added this and I named it table with add remove buttons. Now note this, I just opened a completely blank form. So nothing's in it. If we go to preview PDF, we can see it's just a white piece of paper. Okay, so go back to the design view. And if we are to select our table with add remove buttons, if I click and drag that into the form, there it is, exactly how it appeared last time. So we have our table, we have our expandable cells, which are expandable text fields, as well as our two buttons to add and remove rows. And those work exactly as we remember. Beautiful. So if we go back to the design view, so this is just an example of a custom object. So as you go on throughout your career making more and more forms, you might, as you can see, the process of making your forms is going to get easier over time because as you develop, more of these objects and save them, you can leverage those in the future because inevitably in your future forms you're going to reuse some certain sections that you can just use over and over again. And even if it's not a perfect reusing, you can just add in a custom object and make some slight changes. So you could just make some minor alterations like that to make it fit your form. So that's how we can use custom objects. But how do we make them? Well, it's very, very simple and very intuitive. So over here up in the standard library, you have all of your basic constituent items, you could say. So your constituent content. So all these pieces of content, they're single objects, but you don't just have to, if you're making a custom object, you can group these together to create one single section. So for example, I'm going to make a table, give it some columns, header row, yep. So I just made a simple table, one header row, and 3 cells. So let's just give it, let's say, first name, last name, and date of birth. So we'll give it a couple of text fields and then a date field at the end. Whoops. Mm-hmm. And then a date field. Okay, so very basic section. This section, if we clean this up a bit, we can make this, this wouldn't be out of place in just about any form. Lots of forms have sections for your first name, last name, and your date of birth. Very common. But if we click and drag out into that table, we can then, if we select the entire object, we can then add it over here into our custom section and then save it as a library object. So we can give it a name, so demo table. We could, if we missed which section that we wanted to add it to, like in this case, I added it to standard by mistake, we can then add it into custom, and then the object would appear in the custom section. We can give it a description if we'd like. We can click OK. And lovely, you see? So demo table, so this is the table symbol. So we just successfully added our table object to the custom library. And yeah, there it is. That it looks exactly the same. So how easy was that? That was very simple to do. And as you can see, it'll be very useful to make custom objects as you go on in your career making forms with AEM Designer. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Tune in next time to when we are going to cover the big brother of custom objects, to form fragments, which will be even more useful for changing multiple documents at once. Until then, take care.